Good morning, children. So this is our first interaction of this session. So I will be taking your physics class today, and we are going to start with the first chapter, that is physical quantities and measurements. So what do you understand by physical quantities? Physical quantity is a quantity that can be measured. So what is a physical quantity? Physical quantity is a quantity that can be measured. Some of the physical quantities you are already knowing. They are length, volume, area, density, and some more. So in order to measure a physical quantity, we need a magnitude and unit. So in the first part, we will be dealing with measuring the area. So what do you mean by area? The amount of surface enclosed by a plane figure is known as area. You already know to find the area of some of the plane figures. What do you mean by plane figures? The plane figures here are square, rectangle, and triangle. So first we will be finding the area of square. So how do you find the area of square? Area of square equals to length into length. Here length into length means since the length of all the sides of a square are same, so we multiply the length of any two sides of the square. So area of square equals to length into length, or we can write it as side into side. So for your convenience, you can write it as area of square is equals to side into side. So after area of square, next is area of rectangle. You all know that the length and breadth are different in a rectangle. So area of rectangle equals to length into breadth. The third plane figure that we know is a triangle. A triangle consists of three sides, and in every triangle there is a base and a particular height of that particular triangle. So how do we find the area of triangle? Area of triangle equals to half into base into height. So this is the first part of the chapter, that is measuring areas. Measuring areas, we have area of square equals to side into side. Area of rectangle equals to length into breadth. Area of triangle equals to half into base into height. Next, we will see some relationship between different units of area, like relationship between different units of area. So we know that 1 centimeter equals to 10 millimeter, and when we are writing the unit of area, it is always written in the form of square. The SI unit of area is meter square. So when we are writing the relationship between different units of area, first I am taking 1 square. As we know, 1 centimeter equals to 10 millimeter. So 1 centimeter will be equals to 10 into 10 millimeter square. So that will be equals to 100 millimeter square. 1 centimeter square equals to 10 into 10 millimeter square, which is equals to 100 millimeter square. Next is 1 meter square. So 1 meter is equals to 100 centimeter. So 1 meter square will be equals to 100 into 100 centimeter square. On multiplying this 100 into 100, we will get 10,000 centimeter square. So we are getting 1 meter square equals to 100 centimeter square. Next we move on to the greater unit of length, that is kilometer. What is the relationship between kilometer and meter? We all know that 1 kilometer equals to 1000 meter. So 1 kilometer square will be equal to 1000 into 1000 meter square. On multiplying this 1000 into 1000, we will get, so what is the value here? 1 kilometer square is equals to 10 lakh meter square. So is it clear? The relationship between different units of area are 1 centimeter equals to 100 millimeter square, 1 meter square equals to 10,000 centimeter square, 1 kilometer square equals to 10 lakh meter square. So this was all about measuring area of plane figures. Next is measuring the area of irregular shapes. When we are asked to find the area of irregular shapes, how do we find that? In order to find the area of irregular shapes, we need the help of graph paper. The graph paper which you have been using in your maths for the statistics portion for drawing your bar graphs, histogram and others. So we can use that same graph paper for finding the area of irregular shapes. The graph paper which you are using in your maths, the squares in that each graph paper is of 1 centimeter square. So when you are asked to find the area of irregular shape, you will take a graph paper, whatever shape it is. Suppose I am finding the area of a leaf. Whichever leaf you are taking, take that leaf and draw the shape of the leaf on the graph paper. When you are drawing the shape of the leaf on the graph paper, you will see the shape will cover some of the complete squares of the graph paper and some of the squares may be half or more than half is taken and some of the squares will be taken less than half. So after drawing the shape, you observe the shape which you have drawn on your graph paper, then you clearly find the number of squares that are completely enclosed within that shape of the leaf. You write the numbers of that complete squares. In the next step, you will find the squares which are taken at least half or more than half in that shape. Again you will write down the number of these half or more than half squares. Okay? And the squares which are included in your leaf shape but it is less than half, you will not take those squares. You will just ignore those squares which are taken less than half. After finding the number of complete squares and the squares which are half filled or filled more than half, you count the number numbers and then you will find the area of the leaf. So your area of the leaf will be equals to number of complete squares. The unit will be centimeter square, because I told you before that the squares of your graph paper are of the measurement 1 centimeter square. So area of leaf will be number of complete squares centimeter square plus number of half squares and more than half squares centimeter squares. So when you write the number of complete squares plus the number of half squares and more than half squares, on adding these two numbers you will get the area of the leaf. The same thing is discussed in your book in activity 1. So this was all about measuring the area. First was measuring the area of plane figures and second was measuring the area of an irregular shape. So now we will move on to the next physical quantity, that is volume. So what do you understand by volume? The total space occupied by an object is called its volume. What do you understand by volume? The total space occupied by an object is called its volume. So when we move to measuring volumes, there we will deal with measuring the volume of solids and measuring the volume of liquids. Measuring the volume of solids is easy because we know that solids have fixed shape and fixed volume. So, when we are measuring the volume of solids, we will deal with measuring the volume of solids. We all know that volume has fixed shape and fixed volume. So the first solid is cube. So volume of cube. In a cube, all the sides are of same length. Okay, but it is a three-dimensional figure, so we will have three sides. So the volume of cube equals to side cube. Okay. The next solid is cuboid. Cuboid is also a three-dimensional figure. So volume of cuboid. In a cuboid you will have length, breadth and height. So in order to find the volume of cuboid, we will use length into breadth into height. Okay. So measuring the volume of solids, the two solids that we usually use are cube and cuboid. Volume of cube equals to side cube. Volume of cuboid equals to length into breadth into height. And the SI unit of volume is meter cube. SI unit of volume equals to meter cube. the smaller unit of volume is centimeter. So if the unit is written in the smaller quantity, for volume it will be centimeter cube, or it is also known as cubic centimeter or denoted as cc. Cubic centimeter or cc. Okay. So this was all about measuring the volume of solids. So measuring a volume of the solids is easier because solids have definite shape and definite volume. Next, we move on to measuring the volume of liquids. As we all know, in liquids the particles are less closely packed than the solids. So liquids don't have any particular volume and they also don't have any particular shape. The liquids take the shape of the container in which they are kept. So what do you understand by capacity? The maximum volume of a liquid that a container can hold is known as its capacity. The maximum volume of a liquid that a container can hold is known as its capacity. And the capacity has the same unit as that of the volume because liquids take the shape of the container. So whatever is the capacity of that particular container, its unit will be same as the unit of the volume. The volume of a liquid is generally measured in liters. Volume of liquids is generally measured in liters. We all know 1 liter equals to how many milliliters? 1 liter equals to 1000 milliliters, and this is also equals to 1000 cubic centimeter. So what is the relation? 1 liter equals to 1000 milliliters, which is also equals to 1000 cubic centimeters. So from here we can find the relationship between milliliter and cubic centimeter. So it will be 1 milliliter equals to 1 centimeter cube. Okay. Next, to find the volume of liquids, it is usually measured with different measuring cans, which are of different shapes and sizes. You all have seen these measuring cans which are of different shapes and sizes, and they are used to find the volume of that particular liquid. Some of the measuring cans are conical in shape and some are cylindrical in shapes. The conical measuring cans are used to measure liquids such as kerosene and petrol. You must have seen these conical shapes, and the diagram is also given in your book, page 6. Okay. The conical measuring cans are used to measure liquids such as kerosene and petrol. The cylindrical measuring cans, and these cylindrical measuring cans usually have a long handle. So these cylindrical measuring cans with long handles are commonly used to measure milk and edible oil. So what are the two types of measuring cans? First one is conical measuring can, and the second one is cylindrical measuring cans with long handles. Conical measuring cans are used to measure liquids such as kerosene and petrol, and cylindrical measuring cans with long handles are commonly used to measure milk and edible oil. And these measuring cans are used for the commercial purposes and they have fixed capacities. These conical cans are available in different capacities such as 50 ml, 100 ml, 200 ml, 500 ml and 1 liter. Same way, the cylindrical measuring cans with long handles are also available with different capacities such as 100 ml, 200 ml, 500 ml and 1 liter. But these measuring cans have some problems since their quantities are fixed. Suppose a milkman is having a 500 or 500 ml measuring can and his customer is asking him to give only 200 ml of milk. So it will be difficult for him to measure the 200 ml using that 500 ml measuring can. So to overcome these problems, we have measuring beakers or measuring cylinders. These measuring beakers or measuring cylinders are containers in which a scale is marked, and as per our requirement we can fill that beaker or the cylinder. And these measuring beakers or measuring cylinders are available both in plastic or glass, and they have a graduated scale marked on them, and as per our convenience we use these measuring beakers or cylinders for measuring the volume of particular liquids. So next, this was measuring the volume of liquids. Next we will move on to measuring the volume of irregular solids. Measuring the volume of irregular solids. So again here we have irregular solid, and if it is irregular solid it won't have any particular shape. So these irregular solids can be stones, metal keys or any other small things that you want to measure. Suppose we are taking a stone. A stone will be of an irregular shape. So if we are asked to find the volume of that particular stone, how will you find? So in order to find the volume of that irregular shape or the stone that we have taken, we need measuring cylinder. Okay. We will take a measuring cylinder, and we all know the measuring cylinder is having a graduated scale marked on it. So we will take the measuring cylinder and fill it half with water, or if you want you can fill it as per your requirement. So till whichever mark you are filling, observe that reading of the measuring cylinder. Okay, fill the measuring cylinder till a particular reading and record or observe that reading of the measuring cylinder, and that reading will be written as initial reading. So it will be initial reading equals to V1. Next, we have taken a stone. So now you will tie that stone with a thread and dip that stone in the measuring cylinder without touching the walls of the measuring cylinder and also the base of the cylinder. So when you are dipping the stone tied with the thread in the measuring cylinder, don't touch the the base of the measuring cylinder and the sides of the measuring cylinder. So, once you have taken the initial reading as V1, then you will drop or dip that stone in the measuring cylinder, and when you are dipping that stone in the measuring cylinder, there will be a rise in level of the liquid in the measuring cylinder. So, when you observe the rise in level of the measuring cylinder, take that reading. So, you have taken the initial reading. Now, you will drop the stone in the measuring cylinder and take the final reading. So, your final reading will be taken as final reading will be equals to V2. So, you have taken both the readings, the initial reading as V1 and the final reading as V2. So, what will be the volume of the irregular solid? Volume of irregular solid will be equals to V2 minus V1. Okay, the volume of irregular solid equals to V2 minus V1. So, this is the method for finding the volume of irregular solids. So, what you have to do? First, you have to take a measuring cylinder, fill the cylinder with the liquid or water and take the reading as initial reading V1. Then, tie the stone with the thread and dip it in the measuring cylinder. There will be a rise in level of the liquid. Take the final reading as V2. So, then you will get the volume of irregular solid, that is equals to V2 minus V1. So, this was all about the measuring the volume of irregular solids, and the same thing is given in activity 2 of your textbook. So, after measuring the area, next volume, we move on to third physical quantity, that is density. Some objects are heavy and some objects are light. So, how can we relate it to density? The lightness or the heaviness of an object is directly related to density. A heavy object has more mass than a light object of the same volume. A heavy object has more mass than a light object of the same volume. And in general, substances that have high density are heavier and substances that have low density are lighter. So, how do you define density? Density of a substance is defined as its mass per unit volume. Density of a substance is defined as its mass per unit volume. Density is defined as its mass per unit volume. So, density equals to mass by volume. So, density equals to mass by volume, and this quantity density is denoted by a Greek letter rho. The letter is this. Density is denoted with the help of a Greek letter rho. So, density equals to mass by volume. So, what will be the SI unit of density? What is the SI unit of mass? Kilogram, and SI unit of volume is meter cube. So, SI unit of density will be kilogram per meter cube. SI unit of density equals to kilogram per meter cube. Next is to determine the density of an irregular solid. To determine the density of an irregular solid. We all know that density equals to mass by volume. So in order to determine the density of an irregular solid, we need to know the mass of the solid and the volume of the solid. Here we have irregular solid. So the volume of the irregular solid can be found by the method just explained before, using the measuring cylinder by taking the initial reading and the final reading. The initial reading will be taken as V1, final reading will be taken as V2. So on observing V1 and V2, we will get the volume of the irregular solid as V2 minus V1. So next is the mass of the irregular solid. The mass of the irregular solid can be found by using physical balance. So density equals to mass by volume. Suppose the mass of irregular solid is taken as M. The mass of irregular solid is taken as M, which we will find by using a physical balance. Next is volume of irregular solid, that is equals to V2 minus V1. So from where we get this V2 minus V1? This is found by using the method of measuring cylinder. So once we get the mass of irregular solid and the volume of the irregular solid, we can find the density. So density will be equals to M by V2 minus V1. So this is the density of an irregular solid. Density equals to M by V2 minus V1, where M is mass of irregular solid, V2 minus V1 is volume of irregular solid. The next physical quantity is speed. What do you understand by speed? The distance travelled by a body in unit time is known as its speed. The distance travelled by a body in unit time is known as its speed. We all know that speed equals to distance by time. Speed is denoted by V, distance by D and time by T. Or for distance we can also use the letter S. So speed equals to distance by time. Speed is denoted by the letter V, distance is denoted by the letter S and time is denoted by the letter T. So from here we are getting V equals to S by T or S equals to V into T or T equals to S by V. So all these three equations are correct. Speed equals to distance by time, distance equals to speed into time, and time equals to distance by speed. So, what is the SI unit of speed? You can find the unit of speed with the help of these two. What is the SI unit of distance? Meter, and time is second. So, SI unit of speed is meter per second. So, with this we complete the first chapter and you practice the numerical problems given in your book.